Ahoy! And welcome to the Boating Hour with Captain Rick. The Boating Hour brings you the latest and greatest essential information about everything that sails, floats, or motors upon the high seas of Southern California. From landlubbers to old salts, there'll be something for everyone. So climb aboard and get ready to sail with Captain Rick.
Ahoy out there, and welcome to the Boating Hour. I'm Captain Rick, and I want to thank you for joining us here on AM 870. We're here every Saturday at 4 p.m., and please be sure to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com. And now on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, The Boating Hour with Captain Rick. Thanks to our sponsors for our show today. For a healthy gut, the best probiotic on the market, Livia One Probiotics, natural, organic, and allergen-free. And click on our main page on theboatinghour.com. Click on the Livia One link and go right to their website. And Raycom Radios, reliable two-way commercial radios throughout Southern California. Stay tuned for some of our upcoming functions. We're going to do some luncheons and some clinics with Raycom Radios, and introduction to all the different kinds of radio. If you're in business and you need two-way radio communications, we're going to talk about that. But also, Scouts, we're going to be talking about getting your ham license and learning about all the other kinds of radios from VHF radios on the water. The Raycom clinics are coming up. So I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. My guest today is Dave Estes, Captain Dave from the Mahalo Robalo. Thanks for joining me again.
Very happy to be here, and happy Thanksgiving to all.
You know, that has got to be my favorite holiday of all, and I'll tell you why. My family, as it grew, and I know yours has grown as well, and mine's now shrinking, but we used to have Thanksgiving with the immediate family, and whoever I knew, my aunt or some of my friends that I wasn't going to be at during Thanksgiving, we would show up the day before, help them prep, and of course the day after on Friday, anything we did on the weekend. So I pretty much grew up with the whole week-long Thanksgiving. That's why it's my favorite holiday. I still try to do that. How's your family? Is it growing? How big are your Thanksgivings now?
Well, this year we had 23. Made a few different kinds of turkeys. We baked one, smoked one, and then I deep fried one. It was a chipotle, cinnamon, and jalapeno.
Oh, my goodness.
That one went first, of course.
Yeah, you are the greatest indoor and outdoor chef that I've ever met. I'm shocked at how you can prep and clean the fish when you catch them and barbecue them before we get back in the slip. So, are you still doing that? Are you still fishing out there?
Nothing better than to catch, clean, and cook. You don't get any better, especially coming out of our Pacific Ocean. And mostly we catch really nice fare to eat.
Well, last week I went to the Westwood Sportsman Hunting and Fishing Club that meets at the Santa Monica Elks, and they've been going for a lot of years, a half a century, and all kinds of fish stories. And a couple of guys got up. Mike, who runs the Betty O out of Marina, is one of the members, and of course, Miles, who's been on the show. He's part of the...
Captain Mike is one of my favorite guys. We fished so much together in the early 80s.
Oh, no kidding.
And his dad was a great fisherman.
No kidding. So Mike comes from a fishing family. So has the Betty O been in the family that long?
Yes.
I've invited him. I gotta pressure him. I want to get him on the show. He's been there. It's an iconic boat. Everybody knows it. Anybody who's a fisherman has been with him at least, a couple of times. He has some specials that he gives when he comes to the club. So yeah,
just a little side note on the Betty O. It was made in 1919 out of something called ironwood, which doesn't even exist anymore viably, and Wrigley made that boat to go back and forth Catalina to Long Beach.
Oh, my goodness.
And that boat had the original engines in up until around 10 years ago. So you can only imagine how thick that oil must have been going into that engine.
Oh, I didn't know that history. That is fantastic. So what is ironwood? Never heard of it.
Ironwood is pound or mass for mass the same as lead. It is so dense, and that's why it was such a great boat to make boats out of. And mostly up in the Northwest, in Washington and Oregon, they had huge amounts of it, which is why they had so much shipbuilding up there early on in our existence as America.
God, that's amazing. Well, Miles, who runs the Marina Del Rey Anglers, a member of Del Rey Yacht Club and
Right.
instrumental member of the Sportsman Club, he was telling me how great fishing has been. The tournaments are coming back. He sponsors one every year. In June, he said a lot of kids are coming out. A lot of the young girls are coming with their dads. The families are coming out and fishing. He said that he's seen a surge, that there's been a lot more fishing in the last couple of years. So how do you see it? Do you see it, kids coming back locally?
Oh, for sure. Well, it's like the cool thing again.
Great.
For a long time, fishing was uncool because of, substance and availability and all that. But with the conservation we've had and with social media and all the videos, you can see them, 24/7 if you wanted, everybody catching fish. It's become quite the cool thing. And a lot of these kids are teenagers, and they just get on their bike and they'll go to a marina, they'll catch a couple of fish, show you how to do it, and explain it. And the commentary on it, a lot of it's really fun.
Yeah, I have recently started to look at some of these online social media posts. They are kind of exciting, and the tournaments are coming back. That is amazing. What do we have to expect coming into the season with the weather change? How does that affect when it gets colder? So when we get into the cold season, by the way, we had our first wind and cold just recently, so we're into the winter. Are we going to have a dry or wet winter this December and January?
Well, we're going to have pretty much a little bit above average wet. I'm quite the weather buff, unfortunately. So we're going to have that going on, and that lends to a lot of the pelagics staying south. So we're going to have a little change in the availability of all the big fish. However, all the San Diego boats are still going to be in range of these yellowfin and bluefin and stuff. And then for the private anglers, it's going to be much more of the smaller varieties.
I know that we've kept our fish and game alive. I had Tamus, who is part of the RBOC, the Recreational Boaters of California, and they are fighting to keep the regulations and the fees. The boater fees was, they're trying to in California go up by 300%. And she told me that the fish and wildlife, they're trying as hard as they can at the government level to put all the money that it's raised into the general fund. So the boaters and the fishermen are fighting to keep it into their organization so it could be put back, into what we need, into the docks, into the environment, into the fishermen. Are you aware what goes on with our fishing fees? Where the money goes?
Yes, I am, and for any of that to be used for our general fund it kind of defeats the purpose of what we want to do. We would rather have a nice waterway with buoys marked and weirs that work correctly and adequate fish to catch, especially all these trout anglers during the winter. And for it to just go back into general fund where everyone knows we're not going to replace every pothole. So
of course.
I think it's money well spent putting it right where it comes from. Just put it right back into the system. Make it a better environment for everybody.
Yeah, it's a huge budget, and from what I understand, it's the only self-sufficient budget that raises money from the fees and sometimes I guess the fines too. But it's the only self-sufficient budget in the state of California where it doesn't draw from the other taxpayers. So
yeah, it actually lends to the general fund, which it shouldn't. It should have its own slush fund, I feel.
Yeah, I think so, because that's an activity. I mean, look, we're on the, one thing I talked about last week with Bob in Ohio, they have a season. They have a half-a-year season. We're year-round. So we've got fishing and, and sailing and boating and kayaking and paddle boarders out there year-round. They even, I don't know if you've seen it, I've seen in the Mother's Beach where they have a yoga on paddle boards.
Yes, it's really fun to watch. Sometimes they fall off.
Well, you know what? I think I may do that just to entertain the people watching the shore, because I don't think I'll be staying on the board. But I saw that. I couldn't believe it. It's a whole crew, and it's a whole yoga session on paddleboard. So I thought that was real exciting. You know, I had Tim, who rents the paddle boards and teaches people how to do it properly. So I had him on the show as well.
That was a great show you had with him.
I've had some great shows. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I did a 2-part series with 2 young girls. They were equestrians. They were homeschooled. They worked. They traveled. They were national, international equestrians that went into boating. They told the greatest story. I'll repeat that real quick, but you can go back to the show. It was a couple of weeks ago, where the twins. They're twin girls, and beautiful, young, exciting girls, athletic, and they decided they wanted to get into boating. So their dad, who, I'm in love with their parents. I got to tell you right now, their parents did an unbelievable job. I should get them on the show. So the dad, instead of buying them a boat, and they're in Florida, so they're in the Keys. So he bought them a Boston whaler and spent, I guess, the summer of the year fixing it up with his daughters. And that was a project that they did as a family. And then he went on vacation. The boat was done, and he said, okay, my daughters, you can take the boat out. It's ready, but I want you to be careful. No drinking, and I don't want you going out on the ocean. And of course, Florida's a little bit different. So what do? They went out on the ocean. So they go out on the ocean, having the time of their life. They're in the bikinis, and they were airborne, and somehow they got 3. Someone filmed them. A company called Wavy Boats that goes out there and films people having fun. I should get them on the show as well. And 3.5 million views within, like 24 hours. So Dad comes back from vacation and says, all right, girls, did you have fun? What was the first rule I told you? I said, well, don't go out on the ocean. He goes, well, did you go out on the ocean? They said, well, and he showed him this video that had 3.5 million views. He was in, I think, another state or another country, and it went viral, and he's looking at his 2 daughters, in the airborne in Florida. I thought it was the greatest story. But they went on. The one sister, Captain Sophia, went on and got her captain's license. She works as a boat broker and as a captain, went on and got her 25-ton. She's now working, in the boating industry. And the other sister is working with her as well. And they were on my show. She's now, into fitness and I guess going to college. But it was a great show to hear that this family had a project. That their video went viral, and now they're, she's a captain and a boat broker. She's sold a dozen boats already, even a sailboat. That was my show. I was so excited by that story. I could just imagine Dad saying, well, what was the one rule? And, no, we stayed inside. And he shows them. Can you imagine being in, I don't know where he was, wherever he was in a hotel, and someone says, hey, look at this, it's Florida, it's your neck of the woods. And he's looking at his daughters, on a viral video.
May not even recognize them.
Yeah.
Just the boat.
I thought it was one of the greatest stories I've heard. And how she, the twins, they're best friends, and how they went into the boating business. As a captain, the dedication, and then she went on and got her 25-ton. Anyway, that was a fantastic. I love these kind of stories. Another show I did when I first started the show, I had a couple that were having significant other problems. Both of them were looking at, divorcing their significant others, but they were boat neighbors. So they decided to go together to get away from COVID when it first started.
Oh, I remember this story. That's a great story. Yeah, they took off down to Mexico, and they ended up liking each other so much they're still together.
Yeah, they got married. They got married, and their problematic relationships ended. And so I thought that was so. I have some great stories of it. I love the stories with with the Coast Guard or the dock masters and this kind of stuff. And of course the RBOC. I'm going to start promoting that. But these kind of stories are I remember those. I think those are my 2 favorite stories. So what's up with you with are you doing any tournaments? Or are you taking kids out? What do you got to look forward to?
I'm always taking kids out, and I'm always showing lots of kids how to go about not only the boating part of it, but also the fishing part of it, the conservation, how to read the weather, all that fun stuff that most kids don't get a chance to get unless they're, on some vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm doing that pretty much, once or twice a week. I'll take a few kids out, or someone that's not experienced in the water. They're always asking me. They're going, "Come on, Dave, let's go." And I'm like, "Okay," because I go out once or twice a week anyway. So it's always fun to have different people on the boat.
What are you catching right now in Marina?
In the marina, we're catching all the small basses. There's
Okay.
4 kinds of bass. We're catching small halibut. I haven't seen any big halibut, but the halibut are back. I wish they'd open up a hatchery again for the halibut in the marina, but they're more interested in the white sea bass, which is awesome because I have caught a couple of those over the last couple of months, and you could go a couple of years and never catch them. And then they show up, and you get a bunch of them, and half an hour later, you never see one again.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
They're kind of the ghosts of the ocean, and that's it's equivalent to a Chilean sea bass, or white sea bass.
Do you know about that hatchery that they're in the Marina del Rey? I spoke about that and had him on my show, but it's been a while, and it's been successful. And I understand.
Well, getting back to the Betty O. That's the boat that actually releases the fish out into the ocean. And the last time he went out with them, they put 2,500 white sea bass in our bay.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
And where they go and where they end up and how far they go and all that, who knows? It's pretty crazy.
Well, I understand that it affects clear down into Mexico. So our hatchery here, is it funded? Do you know how that's funded and how they keep that going?
The state does a lot of it, and then there's a couple of federal grants, but most of it is public donation.
Really? Yeah, I know I donate every year. I got to get them on my show, talk about that. And I think they have a youth program a couple times a year where they bring the kids out. That should be something, that should be a field trip for every kid in grammar school and junior high school and high school, all some of the schools around us, they're so close, to either Marina del, right here locally, to either Marina del Rey or King Harbor. And a lot of these kids will go their entire, until they're adult and never get out to the ocean, never get to the marina, never jump on a boat.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do is I take the kids out, we'll catch fish real fast off the bottom. And then I'll start catching different kinds of fish at different levels in different parts of the bay. And at some points we catch over 15 kinds of fish.
Oh, wow.
And most of them are really small, and that's okay because that's really good table fare. You get into, sand dab and fluke and sole and halibut and that kind of thing. Those are the flat ones on the bottom, and then you'll get into your sculpin and your bass and that kind of thing, sort of close to the bottom, and then the rockfish. There's numerous types of rockfish. And then you get into your mid-level stuff, your mackerel and your bonita. And then you get in on the rocks, and you get on top of the rocks, and you get all the perch and the mackerel and that kind of thing. So, yeah. That's kind of a day out on the boat with me.
Wow. One of my favorite things before they restored the marina, I used to have a little red mailbox flag on my dock box.
Oh, I know, you and your lobster.
And my lobster.
that picture you sent me the other day of you in your captain's uniform and all those lobster. That was a great photo.
Yeah, that was a bunch of lobster fishermen. I was at the Port Royal Yacht Club in King Harbor, Redondo Beach, and we were honoring one of their deceased members that was very active in the community. First African American and first female Commodore. So she had a whole career and worked for. I didn't know this. She worked at Mattel, and she made toys and boy, that was pretty exciting. Those lobsters. And I used to have that little on my dock, and I had a couple fishermen, and they'd leave me a fish and put the red flag up. That was really exciting. It's but I'm going to be working with Raycom Radio. We're going to do some clinics. We're going to do some radio presentations. Get some book authors that have been on the show that are going to sign their books, and we're going to do some clinics. And one of the things that we're going to work with is Hawthorne. Is they're getting a lot of the influx of the surrounding neighborhood in their schools. Their schools are flooded now, but they are very interested in getting the kids in field trips and getting them to the marinas, King Harbor, Marina Del Rey, and getting them in.
I think we're really leaning towards the pendulum swinging back off of all the social network stuff, getting back to nature. I feel that every day. I feel that the calls I get from parents and businessmen and community members, they're all kind of leaning back towards, we got to get back in touch with the earth and how it works and that kind of thing.
Get these kids off the couch and that phone out of their hand. Get them doing something. I mean, our generation, the generation both before and after us, I mean, they didn't have these so-called smartphones that are actually not so smart.
Yeah, well, if we would just get back to, do you remember CCC, California Conservation Corps?
No, I don't. What was that?
Okay, well, they used to take care of all the trails that went up into the mountains for the trout, and they take care of all the trails going down to the ocean and all that stuff. And that has kind of fallen away. And if there's anybody out there listening and would like to revive that, I would be more than happy to help out with that.
Let's make that a project on the show. Let me talk to my sponsors and some of the people I talk to. That would be something exciting. And I think that everybody, in the school, the after school programs, to bring people to the marina that I'm starting to get involved with. One big question for you. We just had a big election. Does the federal government it wasn't really a big state election. Our governor is coming up in 2 years. Does the federal government have any influence on money and what happens on our oceans? I know that
Absolutely.
What are the...
Yes.
Because a lot of the organizations are state organizations, Fish and Wildlife, the Fish and Game. So what is the federal government?
Well, actually, that's only partially true.
Okay.
Because there is a policing unit and a information unit that is federal.
So is there going to be a difference, or is it business as usual?
I think it's going to lean more towards environment and access to environment rather than regulation.
Got it. I like that.
Because what our past administration did was they shut everything down, and they kind of had to do that because of budget and all that other stuff. I mean, I understand all that, but now we're going to be leaning more towards the grandeur of the outdoors. That's what I feel.
I like that. We got to do a whole show on that. I'd like to get involved in resurrecting the CCC. Well, thanks for coming on the show, and happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, it's been a great Thanksgiving.
God, that's amazing.
It's amazing. I love being around family. The hugs are long, and the food is awesome, and still eating turkey and sweet potatoes.
All right, that's awesome. I love to your family and all your friends. Well, that's all the time that we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed our show. As always, we're so very fortunate to have such wonderful and exciting guests. And I want to thank Dave Estes from the Mahalo Robalo for coming out and being my guest. And let's not forget the Coasties, protecting our waters, America's lifesavers and guardians of the sea. Remember, if you do it right and follow the guidelines and safety precautions, there's no place like being out in the water in the fresh air and sunshine in beautiful, sunny Southern California. Thanks to our sponsors for the show today. For a healthy gut, Livia One Probiotics and Raycom Radios, reliable two-way radios throughout Southern California without drop zones, dead batteries, and all the inherent limitations of other communication systems. Mobile Relay Associates at Raycom Radios. Don't forget to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com and on social media, The Boating Hour with Captain Rick. Keep your emails coming. Happy Thanksgiving weekend to everybody. This is Captain Rick saying ahoy in fair winds to all.